Hello everyone and welcome to another impressive game from the Superbet Poland Blitz section. It's round 5 and it's Anish Giri versus Wei Yi. Wei Yi is still leading the tournament 2 full points ahead of Magnus Carlsen, which is absolutely incredible considering his long absence from the chess world. And while we will dive into the game right away, I would just like to mention their ratings. Now, some of you have been asking, are these their classical ratings or these their Blitz ratings, the rapid ratings? What are these? A couple of videos ago, I explained that these are their universal ratings. It's a different way of measuring rating that was introduced a couple of years ago by the Grand Chess Tour. And it focuses more on how strong or how well the players have been playing in more recent games rather than in the past. And it takes into consideration the past 6 years, I think. So it gives us a better insight at how strong the player is at the moment, rather than if you've played incredible chess 6 years ago, but then you just were passive or didn't achieve that great results. You might appear to have a great rating, but it's not that great as you've been playing. Well, not so spectacularly for the past 3 years, let's say. And Wei Yi's low universal rating, I believe, is due to the fact that he hasn't been very active lately. So let's check it out. Anish versus Wei Yi. Anish with white opens with pawn to d4. Anish not doing so great in the tournament. He already lost 4 games throughout the rapid and blitz section, so he's very much looking forward to striking with white. We have knight to f6, c4, e6, and knight to f3, avoiding the Nimzo Indian, going for the for the anti-Nimzo, and now just pawn to d5. The queen's gambit declined. We have knight to c3 and pawn to c6, the semi-Slav defense. We have e3, knight b to d7, and queen to c2. Now there are thousands of games in the database with this exact same setup. To tell you the truth, this game will be a known theory for the first 20 moves. So we're not going to focus on that as this is blitz. Bishop to d6, we have bishop to d3. And both players castle. So castles, and you usually want to take on c4 to make the white lose a tempo and then go after the bishop with b5. That's exactly what Wei Yi does. Here we have captures, pawn to a6, preparing b5, and Anish doesn't even bother with pawn to a4. He just goes for rook to d1, pawn to b5, attacking the bishop, and bishop back to d3. Bishop to b7, preparing rook to c8. The queen is on c2, and you also want to play c5. Once black plays c5, then the position is just, equal. We have knight to g5 with a triple attack on the h7 pawn, pawn to h6, and knight to g to e4. We have captures, not captures right away. First bishop to e7, getting the bishop out of harm's way. Knight captures on f6, knight captures, and now knight to e4, offering to trade the other pair of knights. Knight captures, bishop captures. So for the moment, Anish preventing pawn to c5 as the bishop on b7 would hang. So queen to b6, again the top move in the position, defending the bishop. Bishop to d2, and now pawn to b4. We have a3, pawn to a5, captures, and now there is a game where queen to c4 was played, but here we have h3 by Anish, and it is now as of move 20 that we have a completely new game. So we could say that the players have blitzed it out. Rook captures on a1. Trading off a pair of rooks, we have rook captures, and now just rook to c8, aligning the rook nicely with the queen, and of course preparing pawn to c5. Anish goes for bishop back to e1, and now it's fairly strange that Wei Yi does not go for this pawn to c5 move, because once you play this, the position is pretty much equal. D captures, you're going to play rook captures, attack the queen, and after, let's say, queen d2 attacking the pawn, you can even play rook g5. Go after the checkmate here, the pawn is nicely defended. So this is, you have to prefer black here due to the active rook on g5. But h5 by Wei Yi. Again, you have to be a certain level strong in order to play h5 in this position. Everyone, even including your uncle, will play pawn to c5 here, unless you're a super grandmaster like Wei Yi. We have queen to c4, and now pawn to g6. c5 now, Anish sort of prevented it with queen c4, because if you go c5 now, then let's say bishop captures, queen captures, there's this annoying rook c1, and now you cannot trade because the rook on c8 would hang. So Wei Yi plays g6 here, sort of a waiting move. but it runs into a very unpleasant move from Anish. Look at this, bishop captures followed by queen captures. You will get at least 3 pawns for the piece, so this is no questions asked. Bishop captures, f captures, and queen captures on e6 with check, king to f8, and of course queen captures on g6. And now Anish's plan is very simple. He will play e4, bishop to d2, and he wants to play bishop to h6 checkmate. Now, how can Wei Yi stop this plan? Because that is the only plan that Anish is interested in. He plays queen to b5. This allows queen to come to e2 to prevent bishop coming to d2, but also you have some queen to g5 idea. So queen b5 is very strong by Wei Yi. e4, Anish continues with his plan, and now he plays queen to e2. Queen to g5 here would be the most solid way to continue, as it forces an endgame, but it also involves giving up the b4 pawn. So here Anish would actually have 4 pawns for the piece and would be the one playing for the win. It's hard to say since it's a blitz game, and okay, there's a bishop pair on the board who would really have the advantage here, but objectively that was the way to go. However, queen to e2 by Wei Yi. He again wants to create chaos. Pawn to e5. Now Anish is threatening pawn to e6, followed by queen to f7 checkmate. Rook to c7. You have to defend f7 at all cost. e6, and now bishop to d6, guarding the f7 pawn. And here you have to go queen to f6. But in the game, Anish played queen to h6 check, and now Wei Yi gets to play king to g8. And now queen to g6 check will be met with rook to g7. So here, bishop to d2 by Wei Yi, again, trying to get that queen g6, bishop to h6 in. And here you should really play pawn to e7. It's no longer a position where Anish is playing for the win, and you have to play e7. The point is you're attacking the bishop here, and bishop captures has to be played. If you move the queen, then again you have queen to g6 check, and the bishop can also get into the game. For example, queen e7, queen to g6 check, and now after you block, the bishop hangs, and if you don't capture, if you go king to f8, then bishop to d2, and again you have huge problems. So e7 was the way to go. However, Anish still playing for the win, played bishop to d2, and now Wei Yi could just play rook g7. It's enough for a win. I mean, once c5 is played, that's just game over. But little time on the clock. We're already below the 1 minute mark. So queen to e4 by Wei Yi. Now again, c5 could be very, very strong. Now rook to e1. Attacks the queen, queen to f5, and now bishop to g5. We have rook to h7. E7 will be again a problem, so Wei Yi does not want his rook locked out of the game. Queen to f6, and now we have a trade. Captures, captures, and king to f8. So again, Anish has 3 pawns for the piece, but now it's very much different. We have bishop to h4, king to e8. We have pawn to f3, limiting the power of the bishop here, and also preparing to push with pawn to g4, rook to h6. Puts pressure on the e6 pawn. We have bishop to g5, attacks the rook, and rook to g6. Pawn to f4, and now bishop to c8. Nicely going after the e6 pawn, and there's no good way to defend it. You could play pawn to f5, but then you just lose the bishop here. So rook to c1, and now bishop captures on e6. We have rook captures on c6, attacking the bishop, and bishop to d5. Of course, the bishop is defended by the rook, so rook to b6, and king to f7. And okay, you still have 3 pawns for the piece, but Anish's pieces are very, very inactive. The rook on b6 not doing anything, and also the bishop on g5. Well, I wouldn't say it's a pawn, but it's not really, it's not a dragon. So pawn to h4 and bishop to e4 now, grabbing more space. And again, it's hard to find moves for white. Even if you somehow advance this pawn, then you allow the bishop to go after the b2 pawn, and that's going to be also a huge problem. So king f2, Anish starts bringing the king into the game, king to e6. And now g4 was a good attempt. For example, captures, king g3, and then you can advance those pawns. But rook to b5, and now bishop back to d3. Attacks the rook. We have rook to a5, and now king to d7. Rook to a7 check, king to c6, and now rook back to a5, keeping the black king off of the 5th rank. Rook to g8, and now bishop to f6. And here we have rook to g4. The serious attempt here was maybe bishop captures on f4, but it's not really not really something. You could go for bishop captures, and then after rook captures on h5, it's hard to see how to push this forward, especially with the seconds on the clock. Both of them are below 10 seconds, but rook to f8 here is winning for Wei Yi. I'm just showing it because, the positions are nice, not because the players for some reason should have spotted it. Sometimes you guys say, why do I, scold the players so viciously, as they had few seconds on the clock. I'm not showing the lines for that reason. I'm just showing it because I know how much you guys enjoy them. And now look at this: after bishop to e5, you don't even take the bishop with check. You just go for bishop to c1 check. And now the rook will hang. After king g3, rook g8 check, king f3, and now bishop to g6 traps the rook. And your only option is to trade rooks, and then of course it's completely winning because you just go after the pawn, and that's it. You have two bishops, and the passed b pawn as usual wins the game. So after bishop f6, rook to g4 was played by Wei Yi, again allowing Anish back into the game, but he has to play g3. However, Anish played bishop to e5 here, and now rook captures on h4, king to e3 attacks the bishop, and bishop to f1. D5 check, we have king to b6 attacking the rook, and the rook to a1 going after the bishop, but now bishop to c5 with check. We have king to f3 and the bishop back to c4. We have king e4, rook to g4, and now rook to c1. Puts pressure on the light square bishop, king b5 defending, now pawn to d6. Anish continues pushing his passed d pawn, rook captures on g2, and now rook to h1. Going after the passed h pawn, rook to e2 check, we have king to f5, and now rook to d2. Going after the d pawn, so rook captures on h5, bishop captures on d6, and now king to f6. We have bishop captures on e5 with check, rook captures on e5, and now king to a4. So of course you will lose this pawn, and then the b pawn will be winning, unless Anish can somehow survive this being a piece down. Pawn to f5, we have rook captures on b2. We have rook to e4, going after the bishop, king to b3, king to e7, and here Anish makes it easy for Wei Yi, as Wei Yi just plays rook to e2, and he was in this position on move 65 that Anish Giri resigned the game. As there is nothing more to be done here. The rooks now must come off the board, and after captures, and let's say pawn to f6, bishop to c4 covers the queen, the f7 square, so this pawn will never queen, and even though you will win the bishop, it doesn't matter. The b pawn will queen, and as usual, the b pawn wins the game. Great stuff by both of them. 20 moves of known theory. Anish even takes control of the game after that bishop sacrifice on g6, but even with all of this, it's Wei Yi who thrives in chaos, and there was nothing Anish could do here. Wei Yi is just too strong, it would seem. He takes another win, and as Magnus also defeated Vincent Keimer, he maintains his lead ahead of Magnus Carlsen by 2 full points. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, brilliant stuff by Wei Yi in the rapid and in the blitz section. You can see that Wei Yi's rating is way too low. I mean, that's not a low rating. That's almost 2,700. But for Wei Yi, that is way too low. And if he continues playing blitz for the next year, I'm sure his universal rating will get very, very close to 2,800, maybe even after the end of this tournament. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Michael Hildebrand, Fred Ackerman, chess legend, uncle at the bar, and friend at the library for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions, but mostly covering the Superbet Poland Blitz tournament until it finishes. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.